Hello again, and evidently I am an hypocrite because even though I said I wasn't going to do any more of these preambles before the proper episodes themselves, I figured I may as well make this final one, considering that it's the last episode in the series, and there's a couple things I do want to bring up regarding kind of the making of this series itself. Uh, I suppose, first of all, in rewatching, I guess, my Lost World review and in previewing my Dominion one, there's a couple discrepancies that I made that I kind of really do want to address. I had said in the Lost World that the Lindstrad air rifle is brought back near the end of the film. Evidently, that's not the case. Because, as anyone knows, whether you're a fan of this film or not, it went over the cliff with the car uh, after Eddie Carr was ripped in half by the two T Rexes. So far as I know, I believe it's a different uh, weapon. It's a trank gun, essentially. But I guess I was sort of trying to justify in my mind that there's nothing wrong with this film. There's still nothing wrong with it. Really, if you look at it, there's nothing wrong with it. But I suppose you could kind of say, the Hunters had one too, or it's just a different model or something like that. They weren't using South Sea conch shell. They were just using whatever it is they were using. So there's that there. And yes, I know someone's going to mention this, all of you Fallen Kingdom fans out there. Yes, I am aware that this is essentially a bridge movie in order to get to Dominion. It still doesn't excuse the inferior quality of that entry. And yes, I am well aware that Franklin does far more in that picture than I let on. He actually does subdue Doctor Wu at some stage and kind of does a few more tech things towards the end when the gas is leaking out. It's just that he's so insufferable, uh, I didn't bother to mention it. So, still should have died. And also that one bit in the Dominion review, which, by the way, I know was not posted on the day it was supposed to be. That's purely because, well, we were at the beach for a long time, and it took far too long for me to edit. And when I posted it, I started at around 8:30. The thing was sent, and it didn't get uploaded till around maybe 12:30 at night. So you get two in one day, I guess. And considering that this is supposed to coincide with this year's Shark Week, maybe just watch this Dominion review on that Saturday. you know, uh, Nothing's perfect when it comes to that. But regarding Dominion, uh, I mentioned a little uh, piece of information regarding sort of Beta and how most people were kind of oblivious as to her being there. And essentially, I brought up that, dinosaurs from the beginning of this franchise were uh, mentioned to having changed sex and whatnot. That's the whole reason behind Jurassic Park, really. Honestly, that seemed kind of condescending a little bit, and I am in full recognition of that. I really perhaps should have been more humble in that assessment, even though I didn't really make anything about it. I just noticed that, it happens in the picture, but, And so I'd like to right those wrongs there, if you would allow me to do so. And I know very well someone's going to mention this. A lot of the stuff that you complain about, you can read about that stuff online on this, DPG website or what have you. And you yourself even provide uh, or encourage people to consult behind the scenes material. How is that any more different from what we're asking you to do? I'm sorry if it's not in the movie. I don't care to look into it. I don't have the time nor the bother, and it's as simple as that. Another thing, through the making of this series, and I've honestly never done anything like this before, I don't believe. When I started the whole YouTube thing back in 2018, I sort of kind of was really kind of excited about the prospect of having a channel, and so essentially posted, I think, several videos a week or something like that. I don't know if it was every day, but it was several videos a week. And I've since honed that down to, with the snack and stories that I used to do, a video every week, once a week, every Friday. And even though I don't necessarily do weekly videos anymore because of technical constraints and just general life stuff, uh, I'm far less regular in my uploading schedule. And doing this series, recording these reviews one after the other, basically on the day that they're supposed to be posted, was both good and bad, I must say, because it was good in that each of the films were fresh in my memory, and I could sort of cross-reference each one to where there's certain things that occur in this one that do matter or don't matter in the next one. So it helped a lot in that sense. But really, I realize, especially these days, at this present moment, whether this will be the case later on, I don't know. But I really need to be conserving my energy for other things than this. And by the end of this whole endeavor, I was just completely knackered. And I'll explain a little bit about that here soon, as to the primary reason as to why I was knackered. First of all, you probably know that, as I said, I don't keep a daily schedule and what have you. I'll probably go back to monthly or bi-monthly, or pretty much whenever I feel compelled to post anything at all. I'll post really anything at all. But I was kind of suffering from, I don't know if this really came across in the actual reviews, but I was kind of suffering from some or another affliction, like maybe, I don't know, heat exhaustion or something. It has been very hot around here, and I did walk some dogs one day, twice in a row, without sufficient energy before or after. And I was sort of in the midst of that as I was recording these. I'm better now, so don't assume I'm dying or anything. My mother, after all, is, or rather was, in the medical field, and she said I was fine, so don't worry about it. So I was a bit tired, but I believe really what exacerbated it was the fact that I may well have done this series too soon. Because considering all that I had mentioned in my Jilting Jurassic video, which I'm not sure if you've seen or not. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you do, because it's essential viewing if you want to see this series. I was sort of unprepared for how deeply the passing of Mr. Neal would affect me. And it took a significant toll on my health, not just mentally, but perhaps maybe even physically in that sense. Because, as I said, in Jilting Jurassic, he was sort of a second father to me. And doing these reviews every day, granted, I didn't see the films as I was doing. I saw them ahead of time, so it wasn't quite as bad as that. But doing these reviews every day, having to talk about these films every day, I was sort of stable when it came to certain things. But really, I never thought that I would mourn the loss of someone of celebrity so much as I would Mr. Neal. In fact, I think it's quite a good thing that I stopped listening to worldly music when I did, because really the only other significant loss that I would really feel would be for George Clinton. And I don't know how I'm going to feel when that does finally happen. And I honestly should have waited at least maybe a month to do this, but I set a deadline and I stuck to it, particularly because I wanted this to coincide with Shark Week, even though really it's not going to because it's posted a week ahead of time, but you can figure that out for yourselves. You could basically watch it as Shark Week is airing if you want, because I've not received any comments on these videos yet. I've received some likes. I don't really care about the whole like thing or anything else, but comments, I'd like to hear your thoughts as to not just my reviews, but your experience with these films, and sort of maybe if you do uh, have some opinions on them, uh, share them. But perhaps maybe these reviews will enlighten you to revisit them and maybe even change your perspective on these. Just know that I cannot respond to your comments at this time because, well, YouTube, plain and simple. And uh, yeah, because the passing of Mr. Neal has affected me so deeply, unfortunately I can no longer, in good conscience, be a fan of this series because really, what even is the point anymore? And it really is very painful for me to have to look back to live in this world that he was so integral in making, and yet without him being a part of it. I don't know if you can see. You probably you can't see. It's a recording, but my hands are shaking. I I just can't do it anymore. And as I said, the person I am today will cannot exist without one part of me dying off. And we were even talked about this, and of course seeing at least two therapists now for other reasons. I don't want to really get into them, but other reasons. Uh, there was some talk about how some part of me did need to die, and unfortunately, some part of me did. So I suppose with this series, this is sort of my final goodbye to Jurassic, my stint with it. For 26 years, I've been a devoted fan of this series. I have basically loved it. I've hated it. I've grown tired with it. Tired of it, rather. And it's time to move on and to leave it for other people to enjoy. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with these films, particularly the first three and Dominion. But I need to move on to bigger, and I don't want to say better, but other things in order to really just continue in the planned scheme of things. And even though I didn't necessarily put any dedication to Mr. Neal in really any of these videos, I will put a dedication at the end of this one. I did put one at the end of the Jilting Jurassic video, but I will at the end of this one, trust me. And, you know, goodbye, Jurassic. I loved you very much, and I wish that you will continue to inspire and really just influence generations after me as you have done so. And, you know, I guess I'll just have to resign myself to the position that I am in as novelist who hopefully will be getting some work published maybe this year, maybe next year, I don't know when. and increasingly less habitual YouTuber. Because honestly, I talked about my whole sort of waning on YouTube and such, and really, I have a whole video on that will come out. As I said, I don't know exactly when. I want to have a slightly better setup for that because it's going to be quite long. Probably the longest video I ever made, not counting those several live streams that I've done and even that library tour. But the time has come for this season in my life to close, and I am in full acceptance of that. And with that, I will leave you here to enjoy this final episode of Park Week, in which I talk about Jurassic World Rebirth. I assure you that my thoughts on that picture may actually be quite nuanced. Maybe not. I don't know. Because evidently, this is the only film that I did not re-watch in preparation for this series. Mainly because I don't have access to it right now. I could have access to it if I really wanted to, but it's kind of inconvenient at this stage to really do it. But it was actually the first film on which I took notes because I knew I was going to talk about it, and I wanted a very strong memory of it because I knew I wouldn't have access to it later on. So, with that, I'm going to bid you adieu, Jurassic, and I will, I suppose, see you all next month, or perhaps maybe even the month after that, or really just whenever I am inveigled to keep this app on my phone, because I rarely even have it on here nowadays. And possibly I will be back with an assessment of the work of a certain YouTuber. I don't know. But that's all I have to say. Enjoy this final episode of Park Week, and enjoy possibly the rest of the episodes of Park Week, either this week or next week or whenever you plan on seeing them. And enjoy. Hello and welcome to the final episode of Park Week, a series of reviews dedicated to all the films in some franchise I used to like back in the day. I'm going to be upfront with you. I didn't get a lot of sleep last night, so if I seem kind of loopy throughout this review, that's why. So do forgive me there. But today, we're going to be talking about a film that came out rather suddenly, I must say, after Jurassic World Dominion, and how it's sort of bruited as being the end of the Jurassic era. That's basically what it was billed as. So really, a lot of the people who were sort of tired of these sequels, they could essentially rest on their laurels and essentially just revere the first film unto eternity. But evidently, in 2025, that's not the case, because we got this new film that come out. And I know that the picture here looks a little bit weird. Consistently throughout all these Park Week episodes, I've been showing a picture of the poster of the film and such. I have a reason for that. I'll get into that right now. Because, yes, this film was sort of, kind of, I guess, at the last minute in development. Really, sort of 2 years after Dominion was released. I'm going to steal this line from film speak. Dominion's body wasn't even cold when this happened. And even though this film was marketed, and I am titling this review as Jurassic World Rebirth, the actual film itself doesn't have a title. So I'm completely justified in calling it Untitled Dino Flick 576, whatever it is. So, um, uh, okay, so a lot of the people, when they heard about this film, they were thinking, oh no, another pointless sequel. They've basically driven it into the ground at this stage to where, really, did you even need another one of these after that supposed train wreck, which was Dominion, which I actually quite like, honestly. And so they're thinking, okay, this is going to be some needless schlock. Why are they doing this? And I myself was very leery of this entry because, well, yes, you don't need any others after Dominion. Arguably, you don't need any others after Jurassic Park 3. Even more arguably, you don't need any others after The Lost World. Because I've fallen out of favor with the first film, I kind of feel sort of empty about it now, to where, I love The Lost World. And the fact that it did come after the first film, I'm exceedingly grateful for it. But even so, they're thinking, oh my goodness, what is this? Why is this thing even in existence? And the people attached to this film actually made it somewhat curious. It's directed by a chap called Gareth Edwards. And Gareth Edwards, I have not seen all of his pictures. I had seen his Godzilla film from 2014, which I'll admit, back then I liked it quite a bit, but I overwhelmingly prefer Kong Skull Island because I'm a Kong-ite and not really a Godzilla-ite. That's more my friend who probably isn't even on here anymore, Mario Brothers 2488. I don't even know if he's watching this or even knows I have this channel. If you do, let me know. But since I saw Breaking Bad and realized what a great actor Bryan Cranston could be, and he was kind of really sort of wasted in that Godzilla film, it sort of lowered in my esteem over the years. And then, of course, he did one of these Disney Star Wars films, Rogue One. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not a fan of almost anything that Disney's doing with Star Wars, except for maybe The Mandalorian. I didn't necessarily care for Rogue One. But generally speaking, he tends to be a good enough director who essentially knows what he's doing behind camera. A lot of his films are very visually striking. He knows how to set up a sequence, and really, to be honest with you, he got his start because of his love for Jurassic Park. So it seemed kind of like the natural progression to go from Spielberg to Joe Johnston to Colin Trevorrow to this Spanish fellow J.A. Bayona, back to Trevorrow, to this new Gareth Edwards chap. And influence itself, I've talked about it
I don't know how many times on this channel. The fact that, you see Jurassic films that are actually by people who grew up with these films is something I didn't necessarily touch on, but really, that's kind of a neat thing, honestly. But anyhow, so he's directing this picture. I'm not so keen on him particularly as a director. I haven't seen his first film, Monsters, and I've not seen The Creator or anything like that. I don't know what else he's done, but based off of those two movies, Godzilla and Rogue One, uh, I was sort of leery, honestly. But what sort of raised my hackles was the fact that they got David Koepp. Yes, the David Koepp, the writer of the original Jurassic Park and The Lost World, back to pen the screenplay for this film. And I avoided almost all the trailers when they were out and didn't necessarily see the film when it came out. I waited for streaming. I I of course couldn't avoid the reviews because they were everywhere. And I was just kind of, curious as to what this film entailed. And really, the more I heard about it, the more I was sort of kind of apprehensive about what was in there, to where I was basically going in there to hate this picture. And even when I was developing this series and had the idea of it, I tell you, I was ready to talk about this film. Even before I saw it, I was ready. I was going to say that these characters are essentially shallow versions of the Jurassic Park 3 crew. How this plot is essentially Jurassic Park 3, but bloated out to 2 hours and something minutes. I was even going to, back before I had technical difficulties of this magnitude, I was going to get the clip of David Koepp being eaten in The Lost World by Buck Rex in San Diego to sort of show my disdain for the picture. So I was ready to say this is the worst film that's come out. And how, okay, you're doing not hybrids, but mutants this time. That's probably one of the reasons why I didn't mind the meaning, why I loved the meaning, because I didn't do bloody hybrids. I was ready to just do a full-on assault of this picture. And then I saw it. And it occurred to me that this film, this untitled dinosaur film, because if you actually watch the film, it does not have a title. It has a logo that's vaguely similar to the Jurassic logo. If you didn't know anything about this franchise, you'd think this just any random dinosaur logo, though I doubt very many of you are not familiar with this franchise. But if you didn't, you'd think it's just the regular dinosaur thingin'. And when I saw this picture, like I said, I realized this untitled dinosaur picture. And I'm going to do this in one take. I honestly don't care about editing. Screw editing for this picture. I realize this film is very special because this film is of a class that only comes round once every few years. Dare I say once in a generation. And if you do not register what this film is, about maybe 20 minutes into the runtime, you will think it is the worst Drek you've ever seen in your life. You will think it is the worst Jurassic film, even though it's not titled, the worst Jurassic film you've ever seen. How really, okay, they are fully out of ideas. They're just scraping the bottom of the barrel at this stage and basically flinging it on the screen to where, there's some stuff there for 2.5 hours or give or take. And you'll be just like my cousin, who's himself a filmmaker, who basically reveres the first film, though he's probably not even seen it a dozen times, and foully denigrates every single sequel. You'll think no different about this one. But if you're like me, and you know exactly what kind of film this is, you are in for the time of your life. Because this film, more so than any of these, quote, Jurassic, unquote, films, more so than, I like The Lost World, as I said, more so than The Lost World. I like Jurassic Park 3 more so than Jurassic Park 3. I am sort of okay on Jurassic World more so than Jurassic World. I hate not Dominion. I hate Fallen Kingdom more so than Fallen Kingdom. I love Dominion more so than Dominion, more so than any of those films. This film is so bad, so unbelievably bad, that it's good. I tell you, this is the room of Jurassic. This is the Neil Breen of Jurassic. If you know me and know the films that I have seen but have not necessarily talked about, this is the Howling 7 New Moon Rising of Jurassic. And, it's actually kind of fitting because comparing the Jurassic franchise with the Howling franchise, because, the first one is essentially the one that everyone likes, though, it's kind of sort of okay. The second one is the one that's actually the best. The third one is the one that, is the funniest one, though not many people really like it for that reason or at all. The fourth one is just, kind of more similar to the novel in ways, but just basically a remake of the first film. The fifth film takes place, well, in a mansion for Dominion, but in a castle, nevertheless. The sixth film is the actually decent one of the new set, supposedly. And the seventh film, oh my God, what a coincidence this is, because my favorite number is 7. The seventh film is let's just get into it. So, this untitled dinosaur picture opens with the same music as Jurassic Park 1. The same sort of choir, the ominous choir music that you get basically before the scene with them trying to transfer the raptor into the pen. It opens with that exact same cue from John Williams. That's sort of the na, 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 although it doesn't necessarily have that bit appended to there. But it opens with that. And then you get CGI monkeys. CGI monkeys. And then they're on this new island. They just pulled out of their ass this Isle St. Hubert, which is supposedly based on a hunter priest. And again, this franchise of Catholicism with the lawyer being eaten on the toilet after praying the Hail Mary, with the guy being eaten by a Dominus holding a miraculous medal. Now you have an island that's named after a saint of the Catholic Church. where all this horrible stuff happens. What on earth is going on? Was this series made by King James Onlyists? Maybe? Maybe it's for me then. And, yeah, people talk about this. I tell you, this has got to be the worst ad campaign for Snickers in history, because supposedly in this film there's a lot of like product placement, and I'm sure I'll talk about it throughout this review. Basically, kind of just saying, we're essentially whoring ourselves out for the money. This is what's financing this picture. And we're going to have all these people eating these snacks throughout the picture. And yeah, this is the worst ad campaign for Snickers in history. Because they're in the lab, and obviously everything goes wrong. They're sort of, I guess, this is kind of supposedly R&D for either the original part, which that's confusing, because is it the original part or is it Jurassic World? I don't know. Does it matter? I don't know. But it's the worst campaign for Snickers in history, because you think of the commercials for Snickers and how essentially you're not you when you're hungry. Snickers satisfies. This film makes you want to avoid Snickers at all costs, because you're thinking, if you eat a Snickers right now and the wrapper falls off of the bar and essentially causes this whole lab to malfunction, and people say that that's chaos theory. No, that's just bad writing. And if you eat a Snickers, you're gonna get eaten by a mutant dinosaur. No one's gonna want to have Snickers after this picture. So we get the weird title. Of course, there's no title, as I said. There's no title in this picture, so whatever. And then, it's essentially 32 years later, and it's very unclear as to whether they mean 32 years after the original park had opened or 32 years after the first movie came out. And then all of a sudden it's set 2 years from now when I'm recording this. So what the hell's going on with the time here? And that basically public interest in dinosaurs has waned and such, and how essentially, you were thinking after Dominion, just the dinosaurs would be out of control and everything. And essentially, well, not out of control, but the whole coexistence message, you're thinking that would essentially be the sentiment going forward. And if they really did do that, there'd be no reason for any other films. Honestly. Nope! Because the dinosaurs get killed by climate change! Again! And there's some kind of so-so callbacks to the film, just the films and the series itself. Objects in the mirror, essentially. I'll let you figure out what that is. And there's even a nice little nod to the author, Michael Crichton, who created this whole thing. And there's a school bus, I guess, that one of the characters is passing by when he's in traffic. And it says Crichton Middle School. And that, honestly, is a really nice homage, I would say, generally speaking. Especially since I believe he was in Jurassic Park for like a very brief instance during the Dotson scene. And he was supposed to be in the Lost World in the boarding room scene, or the boardroom scene, whatever it was. And that ended up getting cut from the movie. But no, I can respect that a lot. It's very nice. But what I can't respect, or maybe I could, I don't know, is okay. So apparently, Scarlett Johansson, this really this actress who's in everything these days, from Marvel films to, well, basically just Marvel films. I just got a notification. I'm gonna leave that in. Screw it. Why not? For DoorDash. But she's in this picture. Apparently, she always wanted to be in this franchise, and now she's in here. But she magically appears in the car that this villain character, Rupert Friend, I believe, is the actor's name. I forget his actual name in the film. It's been several months since I've seen it, and I honestly couldn't care any less. But she appears magically in the car to sort of talk about their whole enterprise with going to get these dinosaurs and these samples with the blood and sort of the whole thing with the, I guess they're trying to develop dinosaur heart pills, which, to be honest with you, I know this is a real thing. People actually do have transplanted pig hearts into them and have lived very long and successful lives. How would that work? Dinosaur heart pills. And also, people mention how this is the first instance with, dinosaurs being utilized for their unique pharmaceutical qualities. Of course, if you've seen Fallen Kingdom and Dominion, you know that's not the case. Because they mentioned those in the film. They didn't necessarily act upon them, but they mentioned them. But they're acting upon them here, so whatever. Whatever. And this is a note. I tell you, people make a big deal about this being shot on film. And I know I commended Jurassic World for being shot on film. I tell you, I used to want to be a filmmaker before I ended up becoming a novelist. I still may make some films here one of these days. I don't know when. But I honestly didn't talk too much about that and really have no room to talk. But this is shot on film? Is this what film looks like these days? It looks terrible. Goodness. They put something over this to where it looks darker than hell. Goodness, if this is shot in film, you're not going to see no films from me. I'm just saying that. You ain't going to see no films from me. We get a few interesting things. I guess this sort of cartoon demonstrating like the death of these dinosaurs by the snow, which completely goes against Dominion, because obviously Blue and her kin and some apatosaurs were in the snow, so that kills it. I guess it's the new Mr. DNA. If you've seen my review for the first film, you know what I think about Mr. DNA. And I mentioned in World that banner was destroyed and made into a torch by either Zach or Gray, with one of them stupid child characters. They're not stupid, but you know what I mean. Apparently not, because that banner is hanging in a museum when dinosaurs ruled the earth. And apparently, I guess dinosaurs no longer rule the earth because museum attendance is down. And how did they get that banner? Honestly, how did they get that banner? I know it could be a replica and such, and you know they really just put that in there for nostalgia. But how'd they get the banner? And then this this Dr. Loomis fella, which I was saying, what is this, Halloween? I haven't seen any of the Halloween pictures. I may well do that here soon. This Dr. Loomis character is, I guess, essentially sort of the nerdy type for this picture. He's essentially this film's Grant in a lot of ways. He's coming along here, and I tell you, the glasses he wears. This is something I noticed because, you know, when you're watching these films like I'm doing, and, you know, you think that you're probably not going to see him again for a long time, and you want to get his detailed thoughts as you can. You notice these things, you're thinking, this guy has glasses. I need to get me some of those. Those are some pretty spiffy looking glasses. He's coming along because he, I guess, has never seen a dinosaur in the wild, even though you can see one out the bloody window, tied up and dying, graffitied on. What have you? And yeah, people are bored with dinosaurs at this stage. Yeah, because you made us bored with dinosaurs. You people, honestly. The whole thing, and I know I'm coughing. Let me get some water, actually. Let me drink some water. And no, I'm not, contrary to what you may think by the sound of this, I am not imbibing any substances other than H2O, so forgive me. So, another product placement, but it's also a really kind of... this is some Family Guy humor, honestly, and the Altoids, the mints and such that he's eating, to sort of punctuate these long silences that happens twice in the movie. One where they're discussing what they're going to do. They're going to extract the blood. I tell you, 2 or 3 of these movies was about getting samples of dinosaurs. It's not even about making dinosaurs. It's about doing stuff with them. What? So when they get that out of the way, they decide what they're going to do. He's crunching on some breath mints. And Scarlett Johansson is saying, "You ready?" And he says, "Yeah." There's apparently at this port that they're docking at someplace in South America, because apparently this island is not off the coast of Costa Rica like the previous islands were. I don't know why that is. Maybe because, well, this is supposedly a reboot of the series, even though this film doesn't have a bloody title. There's a really big fish head. Supposedly that's a sort of type of prehistoric fish I forget the name of. And there's some kind of weird stuff. There's a prospect of a megalodon being mentioned, even though we don't never see a megalodon in this picture, because you see some jaws there. And this Duncan fellow is saying, you got to be careful, else you're going to run into one of them, which you never do run into one of them. Another thing I noticed, a little tiny pterodactyl pteranodon in a cage like a bird. Looks kind of like the Lost World model, honestly. And they got the Valley of Guanji playing on the television when they're chatting about what it is they're going to do and extract all of this blood. Basically get the 3 samples from, what is it? The sinus, not the Sinoceratops. I tell you, my own sinuses right now. Okay. They got Valley of Guanji playing on TV because they're talking about what they're going to do and extracting all of these samples, the blood from these dinosaurs, from I think it's a Titanosaur, a Quetzalcoatlus, and a Mosasaur. And this Duncan fella is saying, no one's dumb enough to go where we're going. Except you people! There's a little mention about how one of the reasons the dinosaurs are dying off is because of the air quality now doesn't resemble what it used to be like in the Mesozoic. I tell you, and basically how they sort of migrated to the equator and whatnot. I tell you, if that were the case, why is it that these dinosaurs were so successful in Dominion? What the hell? And then, just to let you know that this was indeed written by David Koepp, who did write The Lost World, we get a mention of Chapter 11 and Poison Dots. And you're thinking, you know what? I wouldn't rather be watching Lost World because that's actually my favorite of the series. This is a great time. So, you know what? I'm glad I'm not watching The Lost World because I get to see all this unfold. And when they're talking about the poison dots on the boat, this English fellow who sounds Australian, some people say, but I don't know, this English fellow, Bobby Atwater, it's actually surprising to me that I'm able to remember so much of this film. I've seen it twice, once by myself and once with my family, because I'm saying, after I saw this film, I have to show this to people. I just got to show this to some people just to show the kind of film it is. I saw this film twice before, and it's surprising me just how much I'm actually able to remember that's not on my cards here. Whether that's good or bad, I have no idea. I know certainly what this film is. And they're talking about, how they're going to extract the blood or whatnot, basically their whole mission and such on the boat. And the poison dots are brought up by this English fella, Bobby Atwater. And Franklin, Dr. Loomis. God, thank God Franklin's ain't in this. I tell you, if he were in this, this would be a rant. If he were in this movie, this would be a straight up rant. I'd be screaming at the top of my voice instead of laughing my ass off. If he were in this picture, it would just be the worst thing I ever seen. But he's not in there, so I'm thankful for that. But he's talking about how, if these dinosaurs come any place near us, I got these poison darts that I can shoot with them, which is essentially kind of like Eddie Cower with his Lindstrat air rifle. And Dr. Loomis says it's a sin to kill a dinosaur. I tell you, it's a sin to think dinosaurs ever existed. At least if you're me. So, they're discussing what they're going to do as Scarlett's eating some cereal on the boat, which honestly, it made me want a bowl of cereal. And here's a tip for you folks who think that wet cereal is honestly the most depressing thing out there. It really just saddens your day to just be eating this mush. You may as well be eating porridge or muesli at this stage. It's just pathetic wet cereal. It really does bring you down. One way to actually get the stuff to stay dry through the whole of the duration of the bowl is to get 2 or 3 scoops of peanut butter and essentially mix it in as you pour in the milk. The stuff will stay dry and crisp the whole way through, and it's wonderful. It may be a bit bad on the heart. I have no idea. Coincidentally, we're talking about heart pills and dinosaurs and everything else, but I don't know. But I may want some cereal, and they're talking about what they're going to do. They're shooting these collecting vials or something that basically shoot off once they hit a target and then parachute back to them. And they're saying they must be within 10 meters to penetrate. That's what she said. All right, I had a little bit of time to rest my voice and to urinate. I don't care that I just said that. This film isn't about bodily functions. Oh, okay, so where were we? Oh, yes. There's some exposition between, I guess, Scarlett's character and this Duncan fella about how their partners were killed in action, but not by dinosaurs, because evidently dinosaurs are no longer a thing. They were just killed in regular combat or something or other. Whatever the case is. Fallujah, I don't know, whatever it is. And
as soon as they mention or culminate or finish this little exchange, they have a little laugh and they say to themselves, "We are very pathetic." Yeah, you are. I talked about this franchise and their use of licensed music, how I think it's kind of a weird thing. There were a couple songs in World and Fallen Kingdom. There really weren't any, so far as I remember, in Dominion. Of course, the Randy Newman song in Jurassic Park 3 and the Mexican songs in Jurassic Park and Lost World. But this film breaks the record because there's four instances of licensed music uh, in the film. I just thought I'd mention that. It's not really good or bad or funny or anything like that. Most of this film is funny. But I'll be getting back up to speed here in a minute. If it sounds like I'm somewhat diminished, trust me, I'm not, because we got some good stuff coming this way. So the family. A lot of people talk about the family, how they say that they're insufferable, and really it seems like they've come from a completely different movie. And really, a lot of these people should have died, including this Xavier fellow. Which, where I come from, there's a term that we use for these people that Xavier is. It's called a hoon. That's essentially what he is. He's a hoon, and yeah, he is kind of annoying throughout the picture. Really, when my brother was watching this, he was hoping with all his power that this character would die and not end up redeeming himself as he does in the film. And when he did redeem himself, he was just really let down by that. And, uh, you know, they talk about this whole thing and the family and whatnot. I'm kind of more interested in what this family encounters, because what they encounter firstly is the mosasaur, and I didn't really discuss the mosasaur in my any of my Jurassic World reviews, because honestly I felt it was very underutilized in that series. You didn't really see a whole lot of it apart from like just drawing some aspects of spectacle, I don't know, from you or for you or whatever it is in Jurassic World, and of course eating the Indominus by the end. It eats the people in Fallen Kingdom who are extracting the sample, and it is just kind of there in Dominion. Doesn't really do much anything. Swims with some whales, eats some fish. That's about it. They really kind of didn't use it all that much in the trilogy, and they actually do use it here in a sequence that would be effective. A couple sequences actually that would really be effective if they only didn't name it incorrectly. They call it a mosasaur? No, they don't call it a mosasaur. They call it a crocosaurus or alligatosaurus or something saurus, seasaurus, sodasaurus, dolphinosaurus. No, they don't call it that. The little girl who's with this family, I forget her name, it's something or other, I don't remember, calls it the you-know-what. And I'm thinking throughout this time, that's the you-know-what. Oh, this movie. This voyage, I guess, takes place over several days, and apparently there's a sunrise out of this picture that's straight out of Kong Skull Island, which, like I said, I love Kong Skull Island. I wouldn't rather be watching it because I'm watching this movie and I'm having a great time with it. But it's right out of Kong Skull Island, and the boat captain, this French fella, Leclerc, I believe his name is. I tell you, if you pay attention to the intro to any of these Park Week episodes, you see how I have a Lego T-Rex, essentially, sort of mimicking the teaser trailer of The Lost World. And I've had it for several years. I don't even think it's from a Jurassic Park uh, series of Lego. It's from some other series with dinosaurs. It's, I think, quite older than that. But essentially, the captain gets woken up by an alarm that's a bobblehead of that. And that's something, I don't know, I just thought I may as well mention. Why not? And this is a line that I thought was funny because this French cat, he doesn't speak anything other than French in this film. And, for better or worse, it's just how it is. And uh, there's some contention about picking up the family because they really don't know whether they should or they shouldn't, whether they should just proceed with their journey or whether they should do the ethical thing and pick up these people. I know Rupert Friend, who ain't my friend, uh, doesn't want anything to do with them. And just before that, Duncan says to the captain, "No French before breakfast." More evidence that yes, indeed, David Koepp wrote this, and it's basically very inspired by The Lost World. We're search and rescue now, and they're talking about how when they finally rescued him, and they're going to embank on this island. There's a village complex with geothermal energy. That's straight out of The Lost World, essentially. And also, I don't have timestamps to any of these moments in this film because, well, at the time it didn't really occur to me to put timestamps, and I just realized I only went through 4 cards. Oh my dear. This review is going to be so long. Oh my lord. This may not even come out till Monday. I don't know because I don't know if my voice is going to hold up with all I have to say on this matter. But there's an obligatory flare shot when they rescue these people, or when the people are getting rescued, or what have you. And they talk about the mosasaur, and it looks completely different from how it looked in the Jurassic World trilogy. I don't know why that is. Maybe it is a variant. I have no clue. But they give it a sort of, quote, snake-like body and down crest near the end. That's oddly specific. They honestly made it look more like a whale than a dinosaur, which the sequence itself with the you know what, the you know what, or the mosasaur or whatever it is, it honestly does nearly get Scarlet a couple times when it's besieging this boat. But the CGI, it looks seemingly well enough because they spent so much money. There's no practical effects in this film. There's no animatronics, so don't waste your money if you're going into this film for animatronics. There are none. And I swear, it's my brother who noticed this, that the thing basically, she clips through it to where really she should have been cut in half, essentially, when she's hanging off the deck of this boat or the bow of this boat or whatever the front of the boat is called of this boat. And you're thinking she should have died, but she doesn't. And the whole Xavier fellow is being cajoled by this father saying, "Head between legs, deep breathing." Something I thought I'd mention. And this should well be mentioned. The Spinosaurus, they make a return in this film, but at the same time they don't, because this is clearly not the same Spinosaurus in Jurassic Park 3. I don't know what happened to that Spinosaur. Maybe it's dead. Maybe it's still living on Sorna, if Sorna even still exists. But yeah, I may actually end up needing to carry over till Monday with this review, because goodness me, those first 30 minutes killed my voice. But it looks a bit different, I guess more scientifically accurate, whatever. and they form a symbiotic relationship with the mosasaur to where they're trying to basically get these people and eat them essentially. And I've seen behind the scenes material how David Koepp, who by the way, goodness me, David Koepp, good lord, that's all I'll say. Um, he's talking about how he wanted to bring back these Spinosaurs in a big way to where they were kind of underutilized in Jurassic Park 3, and really he said they'd be having more of an impact into the story. That's not the case because the Spinosaurs in this film have less screen time than in Jurassic Park 3. I think Jurassic Park 3, the Spinosaur is in there for a total of 3 minutes and 20 some seconds. These are in here for like a minute and 50 some seconds. And so, bad on you for that. And I tell you, most of the deaths in this film, actually all of the deaths in this film, be it Snickers guy at the beginning, the lady with the jellyfish tattoo, this Bobby Atwater fellow who gets grabbed. He grabs a bag once, slips, or he could have grabbed a bag once, slipped and got away. Gets grabbed by a Spinosaur. This French Leclerc fellow who gets swallowed like a fish by the Quetzalcoatlus, or even whatever his name is, Rupert Friend, the villain. All of these deaths, honestly, could have been easily prevented. No one needed to die in this picture. You either open the damn door, duck in a bit quicker than you did there. Don't grab that bag from the back. Grab it from either the front or the side and let go of it. Pull the guy out of the thing and don't drive right up to the big bad dinosaur. Really. No one needed to die in this picture, and they do. Something I noticed. Couple things that really should be mentioned. The father of this family snaps his leg trying to save his daughter, and claims that he can't move it. Essentially, that leg injury, honestly, it comes and goes throughout the film. You kind of forget about it, really. He sort of uses a stick halfway into the picture, but then he's walking on 2 feet. One of the things there. And then you want to know how they elude the mosasaur, the you-know-what, and the Spinosaurs, and how basically Duncan is going to get these people out of this situation? By running his ship aground on the island to where there's no way they can get out of the situation unless there's a Deus Ex Machina. And girl with jellyfish tattoo talking about the mosasaur, she says, it's fast. No shit. Yeah, it's fast. And another thing, when the villain refuses to help the older daughter, and basically she falls overboard, the lady says, man overboard? You mean woman? Because it's a woman. But he runs his ship aground on the island so where they can't get out of this desperate situation. And you're thinking, why did he do that? He really could have just, gone around the island to where, yes, it's shallower waters, but at the same time, you didn't need to run your ship aground. I mentioned the deaths and such, and how they could be easily prevented. The girl with the jellyfish tattoo. Duncan keeps screaming her name. Even when she's halfway down its gullet! And he sees a bloodied handkerchief on the beach. The lady's dead! And you're still saying, Nina! 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 I'm getting a little bit more stamina in my voice, so I may just bang this out today and just not talk for the for the ensuing week. But there's a really weird joke in here that just falls flat, and they wash up on different parts of the island. The family and the mercenaries, Scarlett Johansson's team. And there's this really weird joke involving a deathbed and how Xavier's saying, you know, is this what old people see when they think they're going to die, when they go out and buy a bed? It kind of, it falls flat. It's like, what in the hell are you trying to do there? And the average cost of mutated species is apparently $72 million. So that just goes to show you, those dinosaurs in Fallen Kingdom really should have been selling for way more than $28 million right there. And speaking on money, ScarJo, when they try to basically, I guess they're still going to extract the samples and basically try and reconnect with the family. Maybe, maybe not. I don't remember. She's saying to all these people, I want the money. You want the money. What does that say? Oh my gosh. I can't read my own handwriting. Hang on a second. I need to parse this. Okay. So she says to everyone, I want the money. You want the money. Your company wants all the money. For the love of money is the root of all evil. 1 Timothy 4:10. Is it? I don't know. And so they're going into the heart of the island, and they're basically just saying, just try not to die. Yeah, in a Jurassic untitled dinosaur movie. Yeah, that's real good advice, honestly. And then it cuts back to the family and Xavier. Oh my God. They're in this desperate situation. They're stranded on this dinosaur island. They have no way off. They're trying to get to this village with geothermal power. And Xavier, I guess because they're exhausted from their fatigues or what have you, is saying, I have some weed. You think now's a good time to be smoking dope? We get an Alan Grant name drop from Loomis because supposedly he had worked alongside Alan Grant. And some people were saying that, honestly, originally it was going to be Billy Brennan who returned. And I, truthfully, would want to have seen that. Because I don't believe he was in Dominion, so far as I remember. Maybe he was, and I just didn't notice it. But they really should have gotten Alessandro Nivola. Not this Jamoke, whatever his name is. I don't forget his name. And some of his lines in this picture are just bizarre. Because he's just so obsessed with paleontology, that satanic field that it is, and is completely committed to the cathedral of science, what have you. Though really, he'd be excommunicated in a hot minute. Because he's saying... He's talking to Duncan when they're going through the swamp, and he's saying that he wants his body to basically be covered in silt or something or other, because that's the best chance of being fossilized. And you're thinking, okay, this guy's obsessed. This guy, he's got some issues. And you know what? He does have some issues, and this speaks to the film itself. Intelligence is massively overrated. Actually, it's a good technique that I just devised right now.
instead of just going whole hog and just giving this big guffaw, why not just laugh instead of with my chest? Do it in my throat, and hopefully, or in my mouth, or really something or other, to where I won't be so strained by the end of this, because I don't think I'll be talking very much after this once I get through with this nonsense. But I'm sorry, this one was just so funny. And we get a line appropriated from Dr. Malcolm in the first film that didn't make it into the first film about how Earth will shake us off like a bad cold. And I tell you, I don't need pessimism in my dinosaur movie. Not my dinosaur movie, but I don't need pessimism of that sort in any kind of movie. And to where you're thinking, you know what, guy, just die. just get covered in silt and be fossilized at that stage. Because really, the little girl, I can't remember any of these people's names other than Xavier and Loomis and Duncan and the other people. The little girl finds a little teeny sort of ceratopsian called an aqualops or an aquilops. I don't know all the species of dinosaurs now that have been discovered. I guess that's now a thing. And, you know, it's sort of intentionally made to be sort of a cute type of thing from which many items of merchandise would no doubt spring. Sort of the baby Yoda, or child, as I'll call it, of this film, because his actual name is so stupid. I can't get over that still. Just call it the child, not Grogu. It's stupid. Sounds too much like Goku. But she names this thing Dolores. And I say, what is this, 1958? You can't name it Dolores. You should name it LaQuisha or Shaniqua or another 21st century name, not Dolores. What the hell? And the guy, Xavier. I tell you, he's trying to be Ian Malcolm, because the rest of the film, he's got his shirt unbuttoned and he's showing his really kind of insubstantial pectoral area. He looks emaciated practically. Are you trying to be Ian Malcolm? Come on. Speaking of people with their shirts undone, I basically have all my buttons undone. You don't want to see this. You really don't want to see this. I'm in between phases right now. You get fat Miles, in shape Miles, and in between Miles. And right now I'm in between Miles. You really don't want to see this. It doesn't look too pretty. But it's hot. And this film's a hoot. It's a riot. It is. We get a Predator reference, I think, when Rupert Friend, I don't remember his name. Was this guy's name also Mills? I don't know. There were two Mills characters in this series. I have no clue. Was it Mills? Anyone Mills? Was it? I forget his name. The villain. Let's just say it, the villain. He sees this chopper that's basically in this tree, and you're thinking, is that Jim Hopper's chopper from Predator? Because basically, there's no indication as to why it is that it got there, and we're wondering why it is it got there. And my brother, he noticed this. A skeleton that's suspended from it is holding a gun, and we don't know if this thing's loaded or not. It's probably loaded. And the guy takes this really long twig or stick or whatever it is, tree branch, bough, whatever, and it's just poking the thing. And you're thinking, yeah, that's smart. That's really smart to get it. You're going to shoot yourself in the face, man. This, honestly, should have pissed me off more, because I've heard about this before I saw this film, actually. And I went into it wanting to hate it. For any of you who are fans of Velociraptor, very much like I am, and just hated to see him die in the first film, and loved it when the T-Rex died in Jurassic Park 3 as sort of a vengeance against them. Uh, there's only 30 seconds of Velociraptor, and it's killed off by this new mutant Dawn, sort of a combination between a raptor and a pterosaur or something like that, because Xavier is relieving himself, and it seems like he's going to be killed by this raptor, but then the Mutadon basically kills him, not him, but the raptor, and flies off with it. And that would have really enraged me had not his stream been interrupted. It's the next day, and I didn't mention this. This film is shot in Thailand, of all places, and honestly, it just reminds me of Kong Skull Island. I'm thinking, yeah, I wouldn't. I'll watch this, even though Kong Skull Island is pretty good. I will watch this. Water again. For any of you who think otherwise. So they get into this field. We get the return of the Altoids. And we lead into this sequence with the Titanosaurs, which my brother actually thought weren't even real dinosaurs. They are real dinosaurs, if you still believe that dinosaurs actually did exist. But they look really weird. They've got like the whip tail that the Diplodocus had in Walking with Dinosaurs, and they have these frills on them, which I don't think any sauropod would have had. And these things are massive. They look really kind of strange. And people talk about the scene. They also got hair on them, which I found really weird, because this paleontological nut, whatever his name is, Loomis, gets way too close to these guys and is touching them and feeling them and what have you, and is basically about to have an orgasm because he's just so enamored with these things. People say that the John Williams theme plays throughout that whole sequence. I tell you, it really doesn't play until the very end, because I was waiting to hear it, and all of a sudden I'm thinking, okay, I'm not hearing it. Where's the John Williams music? It's just the music by this French composer who did some Harry Potter films. Where's the John Williams? It's at the end, where they successfully secure the sample, where after he shouts triumphantly, the Titanosaur, Scarlet shoots the thing as she's crying incidentally because it's so beautiful, and you see a whole wide shot of just thousands of them in this field, and you're thinking, they're in this long grass, how did they hide in this long grass? And then the music plays. It's kind of not as big as people make it out to be, but it is there. I'm actually getting kind of hungry. Maybe I should have a snack or something. I'm gonna get me a cookie. I'm reviewing a dinosaur film. I'm gonna eat me a big cookie. And here we go. I'm going to hopefully try to get through this. I don't have that many notes left. I just have really 3 cards. So hopefully I can get through this and not pass out. I don't know. So I guess this is a snack and a story now. So here's the return. Snack and a story, except it's snack and a review. So there you go. I did say I was going to bring this back, and I guess I did. Let me know, actually, if you want to see any more of this. I don't know. We'll see. But the little girl that's found out that, she's carrying this Dolores dinosaur in her bag, and the father says that may or may not be a terrible idea, taking her home, because you're thinking, because of the oxygen and such, not being consanguineous to the environs in which these dinosaurs are ensconced, the thing will just die. You can say that for a lot of the stuff in this film. That may or may not be a terrible idea. So, I get to rest my voice a little bit because there's actually some stuff I want to talk about here critically, um, and sort of really give a serious analysis of. The T-Rex river scene, which was in the original novel of Jurassic Park and was going to be in the first film, but I guess because of budgetary constraints, they couldn't do it in the first film, and it was going to be in the Lost World, and they didn't do it there, and everything else. It's here, and we get a Dilo cameo, an inflatable, indestructible raft, really, really bad sound mixing on this damn T-Rex, that looks honestly really silly swimming. How is it swimming? It's got these little arms and these legs that are just way too long. It's like, does it have propellers? How is it swimming? And yeah, I tell you, the sound mixing, as I said, that's been an issue I've had with basically all the world films. It's particularly egregious in this film because they basically, okay, so yes, they pull sounds from all sources. They mismatch species and genders of species and what have you. This film, this T-Rex is slightly different. It's a bit bigger and gnarlier or something of that sort. But I swear, they just threw the sounds over top there and called it a day. It sounds really bad. Honestly, this film needed Gary Reich or Christian boys. Because, oh my goodness, this is some bad sound mixing. And actually, I'm feeling a little bit better. Blood sugar is back up because I had this snack. I'm still having it. And there's really nothing to laugh at with that. It's just really bad sound mixing. And I will give this film this. There is one moment of genuine terror in this film. And that's the false death of Bella! Oh, that's the name of the little girl. The false death of her, where the Rex has got this raft, which, by the way, this raft, I said, this thing can basically tear a car apart, bash a trailer in, and basically throw it off a cliff, can essentially really wreak havoc upon almost any adversary, but it can't tear apart this inflatable raft. And it's just basically playing with it like a dog toy in the river and such. it really did throw me for a little bit. The father's emotion and him sort of crying and whatnot, I really did honestly think, and I really shouldn't think this because it's a Jurassic Park film or Jurassic film, or it's an untitled dinosaur movie. It's PG-13. I shouldn't think this, but I really did think that they were so sick and twisted that they were going to kill off a child. But they didn't. And I really don't know how to feel about that, honestly. This is a bit of a sensible bit because people say they're taking the sample from the egg of the Quetzalcoatlus when they really should have taken it from the bird itself. And I know it's not a bird, it's a flying reptile. Who cares? Dinosaurs don't exist. Christian talking here. Sort of, kind of indecisive, not fully formed Christian, but still Christian talking here. It's kind of justified in they're actually taking the sample from the egg and the embryo and what have you, because this is a flying carnivore, and this is a quote by this nut, whatever his name is, Jonathan Bailey, that's the actor's name. Flying carnivore the size of an F-16. Yeah, you'd want to take it from the egg, not from the actual thing. And I tell you, I did say that, because of that one line, this guy really should die. Duncan even says, when they're going to get this sample in this Aztec-looking temple, which is honestly kind of justified because
that kind of stuff was in some of the games of Jurassic Park. I think Jurassic Park Trespasser and a couple others I can't remember. I didn't play any of those games, honestly. I didn't have any of the systems, and I honestly didn't even know they were a thing. Maybe I should get into some of this. I don't know. Well, maybe not now. Obviously, this is my goodbye to Jurassic, but whatever the case, I never played any of them games. But, and of course, King Kong and all that. But he says to Mills, not Mills, he says to Loomis, that's his name, if you fall, you die. Not! And they're talking about when they're actually extracting the sample from the egg, how, they're thinking of open sourcing it, basically giving it to everyone to basically sort of do a kind of a non-profit thing. It's complimentary or what have you. And I believe it was Scarlett who said this. You'll be broke as hell. You ain't! You're the richest actress in Hollywood. You won't be broke as hell. And then, of course, you get Leclerc's death, which is easily preventable. Honestly, none of these people needed to die in this picture. Just pull him out of the gullet of the thing. Just do it. You can kind of justify maybe that his bones were crushed in the beak or something, because I've heard that around. But still, he didn't need to die. Really. And the Quetzalcoatlus looks completely different from how it looked in Dominion, and it looks really stupid here. It honestly doesn't even look like a dinosaur. It looks like something that you would throw together. It actually kind of looks like something out of that Pixar film Up, or even Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It looks really odd. And it changes in size. It goes from being about just a little bit higher than Scarlet and Science Nut in the temple. And then it becomes huge when it ingests Leclerc, to where you're thinking, what happened there? A moment ago, it could fit inside this little temple, and then it seems like it can barely hold itself up on its wings. I have no idea what's happening there. And I said not when it came to, what's his name, Bailey dying or what have you, because he's a central character. He ain't going to die. And apparently, I'm stealing this from someone, I don't remember who. David Kep saw Avatar, and I guess the leaves of the palms sort of cushioned his landing to where he could essentially get out of there unscathed and land in a pool, a very shallow pool, which honestly you'd be dead at that stage. How he didn't die, I have no idea. And you see some red compies for like 2 seconds, which were in a trailer, like a Super Bowl ad or something. Not the one I talked about in Dominion review, but the one for this film. So they're there for a couple seconds. And so they get to the village. Krebs! Oh my God, Krebs. That's the guy's name. That's Rupert Friends' name. Good Lord. I am so I'm kind of just reading a lot of this myself for the first time, because it has been, at the very least, 6 months since I've taken these notes. So I'm going off memory here. Or actually, maybe it's a bit shorter, because when did I post that announcement video? Whatever, it doesn't matter. It's been a while since I took these notes. I don't remember a lot of them, but he basically, he double crosses the group. He's going to take these things for himself. The older girl is sort of says a line that's similar to Malcolm in the Lost World, where he said, "I'm not mad, I'm furious," to Kelly Malcolm about coming along on this trip. She says to this Krebs fella, because he wouldn't help her off the boat, "I'm not hysterical, I'm homicidal." And oh my god, the generator sounds angry. Oh. It is the second time that I've urinated through the course of this recording, and I'm almost through here. I'm getting near the end of my notes, so we'll wrap it up here right quick. This is going to be really long. But, yeah, the Mutadon incursion on the village is essentially kind of really a mashup of the raptor stuff in the Lost World and the whole convenience store thing, the dairy, what have you, or service station, what have you, is basically the kitchen scene, but a bit with more product placement. And this weird thing where I guess it's kind of like it's meant to instill some sort of horror. It's kind of like the whole Barney and the Spinosaur thing juxtaposed in Jurassic Park 3, but it doesn't really work all that well here. This little standee of this sort of Barney-esque dinosaur going, what the hell is it saying? "Show me candy, I'm going to eat you up!" Or something like that. And it's it's meant to be reflective of the Mutadon's mentality, which, to be honest with you, these dinosaurs, mutant dinosaurs, they really kind of show up towards the end, and my brother mentioned this, they're not menacing. They're really not. But you want to know what they are? This is a line from one of the women. She's saying, "What are they?" And then Xavier says, "I don't know, but they're mutant as shit." And I think I just broke a nail. The Mountain Dew flows like blood down the drain into these underground tunnels, which they all use to escape, essentially, from this island, because I guess they've contacted an airlift or something or other. It's been a while since I've seen this film, and we finally get the big bad of this picture, the Distortus Rex, and it's not very menacing at all. It's just like a big, dumb dinosaur. It's essentially what the 19th century perceived dinosaurs were, transposed to today, and looking far more like the Rancor from Return of the Jedi, mixed with a beluga whale and some or another bits from a T-Rex. It looks really weird. Another notification. I'm not cutting that out. As I said, I ain't cutting that out. Okay, that's that. Because I don't care anymore. I've talked about these films way too much. But it ain't menacing. You know, it eats a helicopter, which even that could have been avoided, honestly, when Science Nut is trying to contact it with this flare. And I'm going to get into the flares here in a minute. It basically is eaten and thrown by this thing. And this thing is huge. It's like the size of Godzilla, it seems, because it's able to eat a helicopter and throw it. And I guess that's where Jim Hopper's chopper came from. Though he found out way too late. And honestly, I'm kind of thankful that
because of all of the issue I took with the hybrids in Jurassic World, and particularly in Fallen Kingdom, that they sort of toned back on the whole mutants. They are, like I said, introduced near the end and really aren't that intimidating. People sort of had an issue with that, to where they should have been in the film more. If they were in the film more, I honestly would be, I wouldn't be laughing nearly as much as I am now. But I don't know. They're okay. And so they find a dock with a boat hanging on it, which is convenient. And what if this doesn't work? What was that about? Again, I'm just reading these a lot for the first time. Uh, oh, uh, we get another instance of it's not a dinosaur, it's a mutant dinosaur, but it's shot and killed by Scarlet. And I tell you, we've seen this scene. It's basically the scene in the mine in Dominion, but less effective. Because you get all these characters, this family, these mercenaries, whatever ones are left, and the science nut and Scarlet, and what's his name, Duncan, and everything else behind this grate, or this gate, or whatever it is. And you get this little girl who basically pulls the gate open or what have you. It's just less effective. And yeah, honestly, you're thinking, okay, I'll just watch Dominion. And of course, I mentioned this. Krebs drives into the damn D-Rex and gets eaten. Which you could sort of just back away from. And again, no one in this film needed to die. This could have been the least harmful film in this series, had people just taken a few minutes to actually apply some common sense to the situation, and just, take their time with things and really consider, if I would do this, would I still be around? None of these people do that in this picture. And this is strange too. This Krebs fella, for some reason he's coughing as he's dying. I don't know what the hell's happening there, but they essentially get the samples, I guess, and are trying to escape from this D-Rex. It's attracted to light, evidently. So turn the light off. Turn the light off from the first film. And Duncan's death. I tell you, there are a total of 5 flares in this film. There was a flare when the father was trying to contact the boat from where he was at in the ocean. There was a flare with Science not trying to get the attention of this chopper, which just gets ate by D-Rex. There's this third flare with Duncan here, and when he's trying to lure the D-Rex, whatever it is, and you see it, even basically, he's staring down its throat, and he's basically prepared to die, and such. He's going to sacrifice himself to where, or is it 4 or 5 flares? I forget. I don't know. A lot of flares. This film has as many flares in it as the entire franchise itself. And yeah, you think he's dead. They escape and he's alive. And really, honestly, he should have died, because, it would have made for a neat death. Him, really, it could have been the only deserved death in this film, because none of these innocent people need to die. Maybe the villain, but none of these innocent people need to die. I feel odd saying that, because it's a untitled dinosaur movie, but none of these people need to die. And they get this boat, which for some reason works, and I know it worked in Jurassic Park 3. Jurassic Park 3 is way better movie than this. But Dolores is taken back to die, basically, because of the the oh kitty, hey little kitty, hey little kitty. I'm doing a review, kitty, of an untitled dinosaur picture. Yeah, we got Riley here, folks. We got Riley. Hey little kitty, you want to come review this film with Daddy? You want to review a kitty, or are you just interested in food? I think he's just interested in food. I'll feed him once I'm through with this. In fact, he's got a little bit before I actually do get to feed him, but he's in here, kitty. So they escape, and they intentionally decide just basically to give this solution to everyone, I suppose, because they've got enough money as it is. These Hollywood people. What are you doing, cat? What are you doing, cat? Hang on a second. I need to tend to this cat. So they give it to everyone, and at the very end, you see... remember how in the first film, the very tired first film that I honestly don't even want to talk about anymore because I'm so tired of it, where it's the end shot, all this terrible stuff has happened, and you see the pelicans flying off in the distance, and it's sort of reflective of, life finds a way or life goes on or what have you. And I guess one of the girls was wearing a shirt that said that with a pelican on there, and it said it in Spanish or something. And you get dolphins instead of pelicans this time, basically, to take you out of this picture, directed by Gareth Edwards. And man, final thoughts on this film. I'm now composed enough to where I can actually communicate cogently about this film. It is an unnecessary addendum to an otherwise closed book of a franchise. You don't really need to do any after Dominion. At the end of the day, now, given what's happened, I'd argue you don't need to do any more. Whether Universal will listen to my plea, I have no clue. Probably not. Though, I've been surprised before on a number of occasions. Maybe just this one, still concede. I'll tell you this. If you don't know what kind of movie this is, you will hate it. But if you do, you'll be just like me and you'll have a good time. Just laughing at this thing. This is the perfect film. And I tell you, I don't drink alcohol. I will never be in the situation which I do. But this is a film that you put on with some friends, and then you just rip it to pieces, and you have a good laugh at the end of the day. And maybe with some drinks or something. You just have a good time. And also, because this film doesn't have a title, it's technically less egregious because it's not a Jurassic film. It's an untitled dinosaur picture. So, therefore, you really can't hate it that much because it don't have a blank title. And I was talking with my brother about this and how essentially he didn't believe that David Koepp actually wrote this script, and how really he seemed, because of all the stuff that's come out of late in Hollywood or what have you, that he had had some help from artificial intelligence in writing this film. Critically, this film gets a 1 out of 10. It's the worst Jurassic film, though of course it doesn't have a title. If you're going to consider that is indeed a Jurassic film because of the marketing and whatnot, and even what it says on the DVD box, it is definitely the worst. There's really no other reason to see it than just to laugh at it. So critically, it just gets a 1. I'm not going to give it a 0, just a 1. But truthfully, this gets a 10 out of 10. And David Koepp, and the AI that helped you write this film potentially, good job. Really, good job. I certainly have no interest in seeing any more Jurassic films, if indeed there happen to be any more that come out, which I doubt there will be, though you never know. There may be some, but oh, that's all I have to say on this matter. I thoroughly hope you enjoyed the series, and will perhaps join me next time for whatever nonsense I plan to do. Thank you, Sam Neill, for all the memories of these films and just your impact on me as a person. And I'm glad I don't have to talk about any of these anymore because bloody Nora.